Hello everyone and welcome to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly, or in this case 8 days again I think, roughly speaking, update on what's been getting painted for the various games we cover here on the channel. Not as many models to cover this time, but a much bigger variety, as I hope you'll be able to see, because, well, for one, there's literally no henchmen this time. Although you'll know if you've seen the most recent Gotham City Chronicles, there is 8 henchmen needed to do the next main mission after the one that's set up just off to my left here is recorded. So there's going to be more henchmen. There's so many more henchmen. But for this week, there is still some Gotham City Chronicles, but some more unique characters. We've got Batman Miniature Game, we've got Marvel Crisis Protocol, we've got Marvel Universe, we've got Blackstone Fortress, and a massive bizarre wildcard, we've got Warhammer 40k. So, which we'll talk more about as we get over to the right, because we're going to start, as always, from the left with Kiteman, the meme character recently added, well I say recently, I think this was back in March with the Birds of Prey releases, to the Batman Miniature Game by Night models. Big base, big personality, he's like 30 rep, he's a henchman with like 4 HP, he's an utter meme, but I love the model, I love Kiteman. The War on Jokes and Riddles, or of Jokes and Riddles, sorry, is my favourite of the Rebirth run that I've read. I haven't read most of it, to be fair. I've only read like the first 4 or 5 parts, and War of Jokes and Riddles is really good. The rest is kind of bad. I think it picked up though as it went on. I don't know. Anyway, this is Kiteman. Also popular because of the Harley Quinn cartoon that everybody's loving at the minute. I will get around to watching it sooner or later, I promised. But yeah, Kiteman, done mostly with Warp, Lightning, Contrast. Again, everything here is done with Contrast. Ian in yellow, Apothecary white, and Neon oil for the smoke that's billowing up. And he'll see the table soon-ish. Not in the next battle report, but hopefully the one after. And yeah, he was fun. I found his resin very bad to work with though. It was a very weird colour compared to the new Night Models resin. And I don't know if it did anything. It's, you know, I don't want to blame the resin. It felt a bit weird to work with. I can't explain it. If anyone else has painted them up, let me know how you feel about it. So then we have our chunk of Gotham City Chronicles. These two are waiting to go on the table, as I said, is right over there. These two are needed on the table for it to be playable. This is Year Zero Batman. Not to be confused, like this is not prior to him being Batman for a year. Year Zero is when Riddler takes over Gotham and it kind of regresses to not martial law, but like the trees take over and people just hide in their houses like caves, you know, that kind of thing. And Batman kind of has to go full guerrilla warfare to kind of sneak around after he's in a coma for a few months or weeks or something. So that's his attire for the latter half. So it's an okay story. I wouldn't say it's very good, but it's okay. So that's him. And Mr. Freeze is the villain of the scenario where I'm going to be using him. Season 2 came with a different Mr. Freeze mini that I think is a little bit better than this one, but I don't have any issues with this one. The other one also comes with like a helmet, so he's actually entirely sealed in that you put on after he's painted. His gun is huge. So this is Talisar Blue, that's the one. Black Templar Black, Just Grey Seer with Apothecary White and Neon Oil for his skin, because he's got that very pale icy skin. And Lead Belcher for the gun with a wash over it. Same way that I did the bases for Half Tusk and God Tier is what I used on his base here. Not a super great look for him, but I wanted him to look a little bit different because he spreads ice out. That's kind of like his thing in the table. So part 1 of the models needed for the next main mission I was just talking about is Poison Ivy. Her Season 2 mini is probably better looking than this one. I wasn't that happy with how this one turned out until I put washes on, and then I felt like it picked out the detail enough that it was okay. This is Militarum Green, Warp Lightning Green, Gryph-hound Orange for her hair, and again, Agrax Earthshade over the top to pick out the detail on the plants, because prior to that I was not happy with how this one turned out at all. And her 4 plants are on the painting table soon, because they're needed for the next scenario. Her goons and Harley Quinn's goons. Harvey Bullock, also going to be needed quite soon. I love this miniature because he looks so just simple. Say hi, yeah, it's me Harvey. Hi, I'm a detective. I don't know why they gave him such a gormless facial expression, but I love it. It's so funny. The 3rd edition Batman miniature game, Harvey Bullock is a better miniature. This is not a better miniature. This is a funnier miniature. Not on purpose, but I love it. I love how just like dumb he looks. So anyway, he'll be appearing relatively soon. I'm not sure when Clayface will be appearing, but I knew he would be quick because he's all just one lumpy clay mess. So I painted him up just for the fun of it. This is snakebite leather with a wash on top. I wasn't sure what colour I wanted to use. I could have used wildwood instead, but I didn't want to do it that colour because Harvey's coat is that colour. And if you wanted a darker colour for Clayface, there you go. Ideally, I would have wanted something in between these two extremes. But I think it turned out okay, and I really, really love this Clayface miniature. This is definitely the best Clayface miniature I've seen. I've obviously got the 2nd edition Batman one. Batman miniature game, that is. If you really want to see a terrible Clayface miniature, and I mean like really, really bad, just go to Google, type in Batman miniature game season, or 1st edition, not season, 1st edition Clayface, and look at that mini. It's him from like Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, one of the video games, and it's just awful. It is so bad. So yeah, this is my favourite miniature of Clayface I've seen. I really, really love it, and he's really imposing. He's very large. So that's him done. Not sure when he'll see some table presence, but he will eventually. We don't need to talk about Thanos. Oh, I'm sorry, Vision. We don't need to talk about Thanos much, because obviously I did a painting video on him. Thank you to everyone who watched it and was complimentary about the job on him. I touched up a little bit since then, but not much. It's basically exactly the same. What I didn't talk about was his throne. Ooh. So let's take a closer look at the throne if possible. So yeah, this is done with contrast and lead belcher silver. Contrast was the grey, silicanum grey, stylish purple with a dry brush of grey sear over all of it to pick out the highlights on the stone and also to try and give a metallic effect over the throne there. And I think it kind of worked. I hate painting scenery. I can't stand it because I'm very bad at it. And I always put it off and then just rush through it. And I think I did with this as well, but I kind of lucked into it looking not half bad. If you're ever curious about most of the scenery that you see in battle reports on this channel, it was either pre-painted when purchased, like you can get pre-painted MDF, etc., painted by someone else, or thrown together. If it looks thrown together, it was probably done by me. But most of it was not done by me. I hate painting scenery. I'm just no good at it. Thanos' chair, I think, is the exception. It helps that it's a good quality miniature. Atomic Mass games do good plastic. And it's a shame that the throne, yes, you're supposed to have it for the ultimate encounter. You don't use it. I feel like they just threw that throne in because they would not have sold as many if it was just a separate terrain piece to like show off your Thanos mini. There's no reason he should be forced to come with that throne in his box, I feel. But, you know, we're not here to review that. So for Marvel Universe, we have Vision. This is obviously the 2nd Vision I've ever painted, because I also painted the Marvel Crisis Protocol one. I like how this one turned out a little bit better, but I have reached the conclusion that Vision is just a character that I cannot paint. With contrast or just in general. I am very bad at painting Vision, so I will never paint him again. It didn't turn out great. I'm not that keen on the pose that it comes with. The colours are basically the same as what I used, except Vulpus Pink this time, because I didn't have any Vulpus Pink when I painted the first Vision, I think. Other than that, just Plaguebearer Flesh, Warp Lightning, Yandan Yellow, and a wash over the top. Not happy with how it turned out, but that also is almost all of the Marvel Universe miniatures I've managed to scrounge up. I found some more, but should be arriving soon. Other than that, the only stuff I've got on the paint table to completely like run out of Marvel Universe miniatures to go is the Brotherhood of Mutants starter set. I'm about 5, give or take, yeah, maybe 5 models away from having every single one that existed in the line before they went out of print when Night Models just overnight removed the game. Anyway, I'm getting very distracted today. 2 more miniatures from Blackstone Fortress, the other 2 heroes, meaning that all 4 are done and are ready to take to the field. Now if they end up dying, then I'll have to paint up another hero. I painted up the 4 that I liked. I have no idea if they synergize. Last video you saw the robot and the Elven Ranger. Now we have the Purging Priest who burns all the heretics. Black Templar, 2 different types of red. We've got a little bit of gold contrast there, a little bit of yellow contrast. I like this mini a lot. And she will burn the heretic. And maybe get some loot on the way as well. Hopefully that looks in focus to me. I actually really like how the Black Templar contrast came out on her armour. I can't remember, I think I gave it like the lightest dusting of a dry brush of lead belcher. I think I did, I don't quite remember. But as I'm looking at it now, I'm like, I can see a little bit of silver on the edge there, and I think that's what that was. Maybe. And then we have the Rogue Trader, I've forgotten his name, I think it's Janus. The Rogue Trader, the man from the box of Blackstone Fortress. I finished painting this yesterday. It was the one I was least looking forward to because he's so detailed, I would not do him justice. But contrast again with washes. It helps you cover up most sins. Not all sins, but most sins. And I like that he's got like the carcass of an animal over his neck to kind of show off. It's a really good miniature, but a reminder that yes, Games Workshop's minis are so detailed. If you can't paint very well, they are a time investment to do. So that brings us on to the last thing we're going to talk about this week, which is a Primaris Librarian. Now, if you've been watching my contrast paint videos, you might have noticed that in them, there's been the box for this guy sitting just out of frame, sometimes visible, for like, since he released. And I partially put him off being painted because I kind of gave up on 40k 8th edition, and 9th edition seems exceptionally bland to me. So it hasn't really reinvigorated my urge to play 40k again. But that box has been sitting there taunting me, and I didn't throw the box out because I wanted it as a reference for how I was planning on painting this guy. And he's just been sitting waiting for paint for all those months. So I finally just decided, just paint the bleeping thing. Just do it, even if you don't like how it turns out. Because the other reason I wasn't painting him is because he was, again, Citadel Miniatures, so detailed. I just had no idea how I was going to tackle it because I don't think I have the skill level. But again, contrast, Ultramarines contrast, the Blood Angels contrast. Now the only thing is, all my other older Ultramarines, the gold on them is done with Balthasar, Gehenna and Agrax. This is just using the gold contrast, so it doesn't match the rest of my army. I still did it just one to test it, and also just to kind of say, well, the Librarian, he's special. He isn't the same as your normal foot soldiers, even if they're Primaris. So he can get a different looking gold. But if I was to go back into painting a lot more of the 4K miniatures I have sitting still waiting for paint, which I may do, they'll probably still get the non-contrast gold work, just again so they match what I have so far if they're Ultramarines. But yeah, that's the story behind him. He's been taunting me for months, so I was like, you know what? You've earned my ire, so I'm going to paint you. Take that, Librarian. And I did. And he's done. So that's the first 40k miniature, not counting Blackstone Fortress, that are painted for some time. That does also mean with those heroes done for Blackstone Fortress, I'm now ready to start painting the very, very large number of monsters and such in the box, so we can actually get to the point where we can start playing it. Still a long-term project, but that's the heroes done at the very least. So I think that about covers it. You might see some more of them next time. Definitely some more Gotham City Chronicles, because I've still got a bunch of henchmen to paint. Not sure what else, maybe get started on the Brotherhood of Mutants. Please do remember to tweet at me the things you've been painting. I love seeing it, regardless of whether or not I play the game personally or not. I just like seeing painted minis and seeing what you're all up to. It's a good way to stay distracted in these troubled times. So thank you very much for watching this painted update. Come back again in 8 to 14 days for another one. And yeah, see you then. Ta-ta for now.